Hello there, Mad Mike here, and welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to take a look at some issues that may be coming up about the new Star Wars movie that's going to be coming out on December 22nd of 2023, and that is going to be Patty Jenkins's Rogue Squadron. So the reason why I bring this up is because I actually made a little bit of a statement in my Wonder Woman review, or actually a little bit before that. I think it was a video before that, where I said that really what you're going to have to look at when you're thinking during Rogue One's production, if you want kind of a precursor to it, is we're going to have to see what happens with Wonder Woman 1984. Now, if any of you watched the review that I did of that, you would know that I didn't really care that much for the film. The third act is a complete mess in that movie. Some of the plot stuff is stupid. A lot of it is just very jumbled, and there's also a fair amount of plot holes. So it's not a great film. It's not anywhere close to the first film. And that's something else that if you kind of look at with those movies too, when you look at the first Wonder Woman movie, Patty Jenkins only directed that film. She doesn't have a credit on the story or the screenplay. She doesn't have a production credit on that movie. The only credit she has on that film is that she directed it. Now, I give her credit for that. Patty Jenkins is not a bad director. She's a good director. But the problems start to arise when directors start to dip into the creative well with other, alone, or they just bring in people that are like-minded as themselves, people that don't provide a different point of view to bounce ideas off of. There's an old saying: if you have two people that agree on everything, then one of them isn't necessary. So what happens there is that Patty Jenkins, again, on Wonder Woman 1984, she has a director's credit, she has a screenwriting credit, she has a story credit, and she has a production credit. So she was involved in almost every creative aspect of that film aside from the music. And by the way, the music is not really that standout personally, even though I think that's done by Hans Zimmer. But you can tell that the story was not as well done as the first film. The first film, the story was relatively interesting. It had characters that had good chemistry, which some of that chemistry did carry over, especially with Chris Pine and Gal Gadot. And then you also have the whole kind of issues with that movie. The whole thing where Gal Gadot is having sex with Chris Pine, but he's in somebody else's body, which is definitely got to be kind of weird. But at the same time, going through that, looking forward to Rogue Squadron, because Wonder Woman 1984, even though it did make a decent amount of money so far, looking at it from a story aspect, if she is involved in the writing of that film, which it seems that she is because she's made statements about how the story is progressing, I do not expect good things. I do not expect amazing things from that, just because of what we've seen with the track record with the previous Wonder Woman film now. And like that's something that kind of is a bit of a worrying trend with certain directors in Hollywood, is the idea, like, look, there are some directors that are talented enough to write and direct their own films by themselves, or even if they have a small writing room or maybe one other person. They are good enough to write those films and direct them and make them good. A lot of directors can't do that. A guy like Rian Johnson is one that I give an example of. Like, don't let that guy near a franchise film in terms of letting him near a script. Like, if you want to have him direct something, that's fine. Have him direct something, but don't have him write it. Patty Jenkins, I would probably put in that same camp. Is that, again, she is an accomplished director. She has directed good movies, but at the same time, you have to look at what is the most recent thing they have done. The idea of that's what you did for me yesterday, but what have you done for me today? And in this scenario, today is the basically Wonder Woman 1984. So now, to be fair, we don't know a whole lot about Rogue One, other than the fact that Patty Jenkins has stated that the story draws elements from the video games and from the books and comic books from the old expanded universe, before Disney kind of wiped the slate clean when they bought the property from George Lucas. So, if that's the case, even though she does say it's an original story, it depends on how much she's borrowing from those stories and what elements she's borrowing from those stories. Again, you can cherry pick a lot of really good stuff out of a lot of the expanded universe things and put that into relatively good movies and put a new spin on it. I really don't have too much of a problem with that, even if you wanted to do a straight adaptation of some of those things. It would probably be very good as well. But the problem is that a lot of the stuff that they like to cherry pick out of those is stuff that really kind of just fits the narrative that they want to tell. So if Rogue Squadron winds up, going forward, and we start seeing, well, I shouldn't say if it is going to go forward, when we start seeing casting, when we start seeing, our set photos and stuff like that, promo images, when we start seeing trailers and stuff like that, which is probably not going to show up until, I would imagine, this Christmas at the earliest. This next Christmas at the earliest is when we probably see anything on this film in terms of, actual footage. I don't know exactly when they plan to start filming, but I'm pretty sure it's supposed to come out December 22nd of 2023. So I can't imagine that it'll start filming anytime before 2022. So maybe, like I said, maybe not Christmas this year, maybe actually probably Christmas next year. 2022 Christmas is probably when you're going to start seeing stuff for that. But like I said, that's also something that, Lucasfilm is riding on that film right now, because that's going to be Star Wars' big return to form, quote unquote, is when that movie comes out. Because I'm fairly certain, I think that's the first film that's slated to come out with this new batch that they have, because they still have the Taika Waititi film, they still have the Kevin Feige produced film, which I don't think has a director attached to it. That is not the Rogue Squadron film. At least I'm fairly certain it's not, unless they just haven't announced that that's his particular film that he's producing. And then on top of that, you still have some other stuff that's going on. You still have the stuff with The Mandalorian, all the spin-off shows that are coming off of that. I mean, this is one of those things. It's like, everybody was telling Disney, at least with Star Wars, to slow down. Don't do too much shit. Stop, pushing shit into the meat grinder. And they stopped for a little bit, but they are going to come back with this thing in full fucking force, because now you have at least 3 movies that are currently in development. You have at least, I can't even remember how many goddamn television shows are in development at this point. You still got Mandalorian Season 3, you got the Boba Fett spinoff, the Ahsoka spinoff, oh god, there are so many shows that they announced that are going to be going direct to Disney Plus. The Obi-Wan Kenobi show, again, all that shit. They are just going to flood the airwaves with Star Wars and Marvel until they can't make money off of it anymore. And like I said, the only reason they had to stop was because the stuff stopped making money. But that's going to be the big test, is when Rogue Squadron hits theaters. If that movie makes money, regardless of what reason it is, regardless of if it's because they designed it to do that, because like what they did with Black Panther and Captain Marvel, I think more with Captain Marvel, or if it's, or if they're riding on, Patty Jenkins' reputation or anything like that. Regardless of how that movie makes money, if it makes money, then they will be golden to keep going on these things. If that movie somehow fails, then the rest of the slate might get wiped clean after that, at least for the films, unless they are currently in development. Now, I don't know which ones would be in development at that point in time. I think the Kevin Feige one might be filming by the time that Rogue Squadron would be coming out, and maybe the Taika Waititi one too. Again, I don't think they have concrete dates for when both of those films are going to be releasing. But like I said, this is supposed to be the big step forward. This is supposed to be the big new thing that they're going to push forward. And I just don't see it right now. After watching Wonder Woman 1984, I don't have a whole lot of faith in this going forward until I start seeing something that's going to restore that faith, or something that's going to, show me that maybe this production, or I shouldn't say maybe, but show me something that shows this production is going to go forward and is going to be something halfway decent. You really can't judge too much, at least until you see a first trailer at the very least. So we're probably going to be waiting for that for a couple more years, I'd imagine. But at the same time, that's just kind of how I feel about it after watching Wonder Woman 1984. I have some concerns going forward based off of that film, based on Patty Jenkins' involvement in the creative process on that film and how it wound up turning out compared to the first one. But I want to know what you think. Are you excited for Rogue Squadron? Are you not? Do you like Patty Jenkins as a director? Do you not? Do you like Wonder Woman 1984? Or do you not? Put your thoughts in the comments below. As usual, I like to read them. Hit the bell for notifications. Hit the like button. Subscribe. And remember, I live my life free of compromise. Do you?